Hey, hey, guys, the
I see.
Secret Service Sam super secret show. I am here with Trent Out Loud.
What up?
Trent and
What
I
up?
met just this last week. Trent is live
Live.
outside of Daniel Patrick Moynihan. There it is, court
There we
building
go.
at 500
500 Pearl
Pearl
Street.
Street. The Diddy Dome, some people are
Mhm.
calling it now. Trent,
I saw
tell
you singing the
everybody.
other day. Welcome to the Thunderdome. I saw
It's the
that.
Diddy Dome now.
The Diddy
We
Dome.
don't
Yes,
need
thanks.
another hero.
Ow! Come on. Yo,
Hilarious.
bro.
Trent, please tell
Yes.
people a little bit about yourself. You're from Montreal, Canada. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, yes. First of all, Secret Service Sam, thank you so much for having me on your show. It is a blessing and an honor. You are a legend, so thank you so much for having me on,
Oh,
man.
thank
And it was
you.
a
Thank you.
pleasure meeting you. You just to let your viewers know you're as good as a guy on air and behind the scenes. Some people are not the same. You're a good guy no matter where you are. So I appreciate that, and it's an honor to
Thank
be on with
you.
you.
You too.
You're welcome. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Yeah, so I am from Montreal, Canada. I am also conceived in Florida, so I'm a Floridian, and my parents are Jamaican. So I just want to establish that I am Jamaican, American, and Canadian. All right. But I am the only content creator right now from Canada at the Diddy trial right now. Shout out to Legacy Media. But me and Sam and other content creators are changing the dynamic, and I love what we're doing out here. I'm bringing you guys the direct, unfiltered news that Legacy Media cannot bring you. So thank you for
That's
having me on.
right. Yeah, that's right. People don't understand with this independent journalism
Yes.
revolution, we're the
Yep.
only ones who can say what we want because nobody is
Exactly.
controlling us. We're all independent.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
Trent, I know you got to catch a flight. Why don't you
Yeah.
just break down today for everybody with Brendan Paul on the stand and let us know, were you inside the courtroom today?
Yes, yes. Every day except for one day. The first day I got here, I was in the overflow room. But ever since then, every single day, I am in the actual courtroom. Diddy's mom sits one bench away from me. She says, "Hi, Trent." Every morning, I say, "Hello, Mrs. Collins. I love the wig, your wig choice, because every day it's another wig choice."
Yes.
His sons, Diddy walks in. I am 10 feet away. The prosecution and defense, I am right there in the thick of it. So
Hmm.
front row seat to the Diddy Dome. To answer your question of what happened today, I just did a live on my YouTube, and it took me around an hour. I'll condense it for you quickly. And again, disclaimer: this is my opinion. This is coming from my view. It's objective, but
Right.
I think the Diddy's defense team had a enormous win today. Like super out the ballpark. Maybe the best cross examination I have seen of a witness. I put it on my thumbnail on my YouTube. Like I feel like Diddy reflipped Brendan. You know what I mean? It was like, oh,
Wow.
the prosecution flipped him. I feel like Diddy reflipped him. And keep in mind, this is a defense. This is a prosecution's witness. They're giving him immunity. We were told, or we were not necessarily told, but made to assume that this is Diddy's DRUG. This is on YouTube, right? I have to be careful
Yeah,
of
I
my
think we're
words, right?
okay on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So this is supposed to Diddy's alleged drug mule, and they made him. They painted him out to be this big, huge, almost like Mexican cartel. You know what I'm saying? Like Pablo
Even
Escobar
though he's
type. You know,
white as ever.
yeah, exactly. Like you thought this guy was coming home with briefcases and trunk loads and stuff. And they asked him one question to me, which just changed everything. They said, "How many times did you get drugs for Diddy?" And he said, "More than 5, but not more than 10." That
Mm,
just puts you right in the classification of personal use. You tell me a billionaire that's in the entertainment industry that hasn't got their assistant at least 5 to 10 times to get them some sort of drugs of any kind. Like it really dilutes the fact of Diddy having these assistants getting these huge amounts of drugs for him. And
right.
to me, I think that's where it went left. And like I said, I don't want to go on and on and on, but that was really the catalyst of the in the prosecution asking questions, and then the redirect was Brian Steele, and y'all know how Brian Steele does from the Young Thug case. He ride or dies for his clients, and he
Yeah.
went in for Diddy. He started off by painting Brandon to be a star athlete at Syracuse. A very not straight A student, but an academic student. And he said, "Yo,
Right.
you're coming. You're 23 years old. You're working for Diddy." And yes, He may not have been a perfect boss. Yes, he may have gotten you to do drugs 1 or 2 times for him, or 5 to 10 times, whatever you said to the prosecution. But ultimately, in your 2 years there, would you not say that 98% of your time you were learning, you were beside a mogul? And he said, yes, absolutely. I look at it as a huge opportunity. I do not look at Sean Combs as a criminal. I do not look at Combs Enterprises as a criminal organization. He's
Mm-hmm.
basically indirectly saying, you don't have him on RICO, people. And for a witness prosecution to indirectly say there is no RICO, and I'm not saying there is no RICO, I'm just saying that's what he's indirectly saying. It
Wow.
really, really pokes holes in his testimony. Brian Steele did an amazing job, and I am not on either side. I am literally stay right in the
Right. It's
middle.
just
When
in the middle. Mm-hmm.
when the prosecution does a good job, I say, wow, great job. They have great days today. I feel like they did not do a good job. I guarantee
Right.
you they're in their war room right now saying, where did we go wrong? Did Brendan Paul fool us? What is going on? Because
Right. And I
everything was
and
too.
And you bring up a great point, Trent, where like with when we're in the courtroom, it's like a sporting event. You know what I mean? And
Correct.
you might not like that your team's not winning, but it
Correct.
just it's like today they won, tomorrow it's like a tennis
That's what it
match or
is.
something, like
100%.
best of,
100%.
7 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Um
yeah,
and so I think that's what people don't quite understand. Now, also you bring up an interesting point. A billionaire, sure, has got somebody who's getting stuff for him. Okay, but what about just regular folks? Like, haven't all of us maybe had somebody hook us up with something,
yep,
to go to a concert or whatever it
yep,
is? And don't you think
exactly.
throughout the course of your life it's been over 10 times maybe so
100%.
it's very these yeah it's, like I saw Emily Knows Everything came out, and she even went as far as said this whole thing is BS. I mean, she was
Wow.
really like calling it like game over.
Yeah.
um
Shout out to Emily. She's always doing her thing. Never holds her thoughts back at all.
I know. And Emily had something interesting. She was saying they went over the schedule. Oh, and here's something real quick. He said Brendan got in trouble and fired for forgetting Diddy's Lululemon bag.
I thought that was so funny. Like I said that in my live that I did an hour ago, and I'm sure that's going to be the headline. So they are painting Diddy to be this monster Rico boss, and Brendan says, "Hey, working for him, it's hard, it's challenging." They're like, "Yes, did you ever get in trouble?" He said, "Yes, actually, one time I got." He said, "I got fired 2 or 3 times." The prosecution's like, "Great, tell us about it." You're gonna think it's like, "Oh, I forgot to bring kilos of coke or something like that." He's like, yeah, we were going on a walk, and I forgot to bring his Lululemon fanny pack. Bro, you're trying to put a man down for Rico, and you have one of your all-star witnesses saying, I forgot his Lululemon fanny
Yeah.
pack? That is so embarrassing for the
Right.
prosecution. Really horrible, really
Oh my
horrible. And
God.
that wasn't on Brian Steele's cross-examination. That was on the prosecution's question. Very,
Wow.
very unprepared. Very unprepared.
Wow. Yeah, aren't you shocked at sometimes at how unprepared, I hate to say, the
1,000%.
government, because Diddy's team, I've never seen them really too unprepared or flub
No,
very often at all.
no,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's like, throwing a ball or they're always throwing strikes, but the
yeah,
government, I have seen them, like, for example, when Brianna lied about the grabbing of her mini mountains and that she had bruises, and that, remember,
yeah.
she said her lawyer Tyler or Tyrone left that
Yeah,
in the lawsuit and she didn't take it
yeah,
out, and she
yes,
admitted, yes, that wasn't true. So
yeah,
right there, that just discredited everything. And so my question is, like, how does the government, like, not be like, hey, is this not true? We need to redact this and take
yeah,
this out because we
yeah,
can't have anything to you're a dam holding back water. We can't have any leaks.
1,000%. So two things to that, just to add on with Vonna. Not only did she say she fired Tyrone for that, but then her new lawyer she hired put it back in the case, and she was
Exactly.
testifying, it was still in there and not taken out. How do you take something out? You fire a lawyer, but then your new lawyer puts it in.
Right.
Horrible. But to be fair, yes, the prosecution. Oh, finally the sun is coming out.
Oh, there you
Um,
go.
yes, the prosecution does look like they are very unprepared. However, don't forget the defense hasn't put on their case yet. So it's a lot easier when the prosecution is putting on 10 witnesses for us to
Mm,
say, yeah, they messed up here, they messed up here, they messed up there.
true.
That's a lot they're doing. And we haven't, I don't think the defense has had an opportunity to mess up yet because they haven't presented a case.
Ah, that's a good point. That's a very valid
Yeah.
point. Now, also, it was reported that Lou Taylor, who was the woman behind Britney's Spears conservation ship, that they got into Brendan's schedule, and in February they had a finance dinner between Diddy, his team, Lou, Robin Greenhill, who she's the one who would pay money to Jane Doe, I guess, for the
Okay.
escorts,
Yeah.
and Tariq. So they said Lou was at dinner the night before Jane Doe's Nobu freak off.
Yeah.
Um, uh, what else I have? I was yeah. I mean, talk about some fresh fish. I was saying, freak off at Nobu's. Was Nobu's where
Exactly.
they had the 7-person celebrity freak off? Is that where that happened?
I'm not too sure about that. I think because we didn't get that from Brendan. That was probably from like the summary charts. And
Well,
the
we
summary,
got
go
Jane
ahead.
Doe told us about the 7-person freak off
In
where
Vegas.
Anton the escort was
Exactly.
banging away at, we don't know, allegedly Kanye's wife. We don't know who it was. And
Exactly.
then they all sat around and watched.
Exactly. And that's where Jane said she flashed the crowd. Remember?
Right. Yeah. Remember? And she's
Exactly.
like, "Why would you do that?" And she's like, I don't know. It's just the vibe, It just I was in the moment, and it's so funny.
Yeah.
Don't you love that, Trent? Like in this thing, you're
It's
sitting
crazy.
here. We're up like at 5 a.m., butt crack in the
Yeah.
morning, and you're just
Yeah.
listening. Then this woman, like, and especially Jane Doe, her voice is so sensual, and like
Yes.
the way, like, because when they're like, "Why?" She's like, "It just seemed like I was in the moment, and I just wanted to like." And in my head, I'm
Yeah.
picturing like, okay, they're all watching Anton go in on some woman. They're all sitting around there
Exactly.
drinking, having a good
Yeah.
time watching a live adult film. And
Yeah.
she's just sitting there distracted, like, oh, snappy fish. Okay.
Exactly.
Jane Doe
Exactly.
is in the game, you know?
100%. And I mean, and to be fair to all victims, just because she did that doesn't mean that she wasn't trafficked. I just want to
Of
make that clear
course
from
not.
my point of
No.
view. However, to your point, again, that does not look good from the prosecution's case. You're
Right.
putting up somebody who's supposed to be an alleged victim who's trafficked, and then you have a night that comes out that she's at a alleged freak off. She's opening her blouse to everybody, and then on top of it, the alleged rapper, who we're not allowed to say his name, who it is, but then he says, "Hey, do you know anybody else other than Anton?" And she's like, "Yeah, I know a bunch of people. Here's a guy named Kamal." And then the
Right.
prosecution, and then the defense attorney says, "Well, why would he ask you?" She goes, "I don't know. I look like the type of person that's in that life."
Right. Bang. Bah, 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 bah,
Yeah,
bah, bah, bah,
exactly.
bah. I mean,
Like shots fired for the defense, bro. Like, and you know
yeah.
what? I think that's why. I don't know if you know this yet, but the prosecution once again asked the defense or asked the judge to make the defense tell them who is going to be testifying, how long is their case going to be. And Mark got up and said it's going to be shorter than what we said earlier in the week. And earlier in the week, he said 2 to 5 weeks. He said he might be able to rest his case on Tuesday, meaning one day of defense. What does that tell you?
Mm.
One day of defense. They feel like they don't even need to put on the case. They
Right.
feel like they poked enough holes in the process. You know what happens when you win an argument? You shut your mouth and you take your win. You
Yeah,
don't
that's
open
that's
your
it.
mouth to say anything
Cause
more.
cause silence is so painful. When you win an argument, you're like on a text with somebody or an argument and you just
Exactly.
stop. They're like,
Exactly.
come on, come on. Yeah, or when you
Exactly.
know we got
Yes.
this.
Yeah, that
Wow.
sends a big message to the jury. Like, what? You're not
What?
going to say a fucking thing? Sorry for swearing. You're not going to say a
Yeah.
thing? Yeah, that is very, very, very telling, very big. We will see. We will see. It could also be a ploy to make them feel there's nothing coming in, or there could be a surprise with this. I just wanted to put that in, but that
Hmm.
is the words he said. He said he could rest by Tuesday, closing arguments Wednesday. The jury gets the case Thursday. We could have a verdict. Breaking news here, people. We could have a verdict by next week, Friday. It is possible. It is possible.
Wow.
Crazy,
Holy
right?
cow, dude. By next
Yeah.
Friday.
Yep. Yep.
And and some people are bringing up an interesting point. What about
Yeah.
the escort services that these
Yeah.
people were hired from. What about the larger dealer? They're going after, like they said, Brendan, who is like an NCAA basketball player. Who
Yeah.
who's supplying him, and then who's
Exactly.
supplying him? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then,
Exactly.
it's like, what about Lou? What about Robin, who is making payments? What
Yeah.
about KK, who hasn't
Exactly.
even hit the stand? I'd almost like to
Exactly.
see Diddy get up on the stand and just they set him up with a turntable and a microphone.
You know,
Maybe
right?
Kanye pops up. Judge Subramanian is like, okay, let's
Yeah.
do this.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's
Take that. Take
go.
that. Take that. Um,
Yeah,
100%. I mean, look, they told us I think last week that KK is a co-defendant. There are other indictments that are going to come down. Of course, they want the head of the snake. I don't feel like this is over. If Diddy gets found not guilty on everything, it's going to be a lot harder to find the co-conspirators guilty. But if
right,
he is found guilty, that's when I think they move to KK. They move to the other people down the chain, right?
right.
Everybody's like, how is this RICO when it's just one person? There's only one person that's been unsealed, Diddy and KK. I'm sure there's other people there, 1,000%.
Yes, exactly. And what
Yeah.
about outside the Diddy trial? Everybody knows the line is always crazy in the morning.
Yes.
Was there
Yes.
anything crazy today on this Friday to report on at all?
No. No. Nothing too crazy. I mean, just before we got on the live, there was that lady who got kicked out of the courtroom a couple of weeks ago. She
Right,
is still
Candy
here.
or
She's at
Candor?
something like that. She's still over here talking. They're here every day. Just the regular thing, but you kind of get used to because you're here every morning with them. So you're just saying
Right.
hi, what's going on. Um, Somebody got arrested last week, but this morning everything was pretty calm. I think
That's
everybody's just
cool.
happy they had Juneteenth off and they're getting ready for the weekend. So it was a good
There you
morning.
go. Yeah, I know. Happy
Yeah,
Juneteenth, at least a peaceful
facts,
day. And
facts.
yeah, that's what people don't understand. That line is crazy.
Yes,
There's assaults. I mean, I say
yeah,
it's like one flew over the cuckoo's nest. You're like in the
thousand
insane
percent.
asylum when you're outside.
Exactly.
Well,
It's
Trent,
the
this was
streets of New York
amazing.
City, bro.
It's New York City also.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
live in
Yeah,
LA and the vibe is so different. Like New
yeah,
York is aggressive. You got to be ready for New York. New York,
yeah,
everybody's
exactly.
like, "Come on." Like Candy is like, "Okay." It's like
Yeah,
it's
facts.
out there. But I
Yeah,
love New York, it's like this adrenaline rush. It's like you're skydiving the entire
yeah,
time you're in town, you know what I mean? It's
thousand
just
percent.
so well, I'll let you get off to your plane. Have a safe flight. And thank you so much for talking to me, man.
No
And
problem,
I
brother.
will see you soon in person too.
Yeah, you're coming back, right? Soon, next
Yeah,
week,
yeah, I
soon,
am.
something. Yeah, yeah. Don't take too long. Like I said, it could be over next week. You don't want to miss
I
it. You got to
know.
be here, right? So we need
I
you,
know.
bro.
Let
Come
me
on
know.
back.
Let me know.
All right,
All right. Well,
all right.
take
I'll
care,
definitely tell
brother.
you.
Okay.
All right, man.
Peace.
Thank you very much,
Thank
man.
you.
Take care.
All
Peace.
right, guys. We'll see you soon, Patriots. Secret Service Sam out. Samson for president of TikTok.